Hey everyone, and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. I'm Justin, and I love Doggy Style, the album.
It's a good album. It's a good album. I'm Nico, and I'm a SOG Dolger.
I'm Dan, Lieutenant Dan.
Oh ho ho.
Do you have legs?
True. True.
And we're here today to discuss Dog Soldiers. This was directed by Neil Marshall, starring Sean Pertwee as Wells, Kevin McKidd as Cooper, Emma Cleesby as Megan, Darren Morfitt as Spoon, and Liam Cunningham as Ryan. We open with a squad of British soldiers engaging in a field exercise in the Scottish Highlands. Members of the squad include Sergeant Wells, Cooper, and the adequately named Spoon. The idea is basically that the squad will be taking part in mock combat against the highly rated SAS unit. Things go kind of sideways, though, when the squad basically encounter a desiccated cow, and shit completely hits the fan when they find the camp of the SAS soldiers they were supposed to be competing against covered in blood. The only survivor is Captain Ryan, and he's totally incoherent and babbling about some creatures that killed his squad. I mean, it's kind of a legit opening, but Nico, where does it go?
So the sun begins to set, and the squad finds themselves in dire straits. And I'm not talking the band, because they are besieged by some hella fearsome beasts. One member of the squad is killed, and he kind of kills himself in the scene, actually. And Sergeant Wells is disemboweled, but amazingly still alive. Spoon then takes charge of the squad, and they run into Megan, a local zoologist, driving down the road. Megan takes the squad to a local farmhouse where they can then regroup. So at this farmhouse, upon regrouping, Megan tells the squad that there is no one else around for leagues as the crow flies, and that they're actually being besieged by lycanthropes, aka werewolves. Shock and awe. The squad doubt her, though, but after being sieged by the beast once again and losing another crew member, they begin to believe her. They stuff Sergeant Wells' guts back together again, ooh-woo, and they cook up a plan to escape. They try to hotwire a car nearby in the farmhouse, too, but they lose another squad member in the attempt. Spoon then interrogates Captain Ryan, and he reveals that he was part of a government project to capture a werewolf. He also then turns into a werewolf due to his earlier injuries, and Cooper impales him with a claymore, but he gets away. Oof.
Riveting. Dan, take us away.
Well, at Megan's behest, the remaining squad members blow up the adjacent barn in an attempt to kill the werewolves. But something just doesn't seem right. Megan begins to transform and reveals that she is, reluctantly, a werewolf. Lycanthropes invade the farmhouse, and Sergeant Wells, Cooper, and Spoon bravely fight back. Spoon is double-teamed, and killed while Wells and Cooper are chased all around the house. Wells can feel himself beginning to change. I'm changing! So he gives Cooper a camera with pictures of the werewolves.
We all knew what to do.
And sends him away while he blows up the farmhouse, killing the werewolves. But it isn't over yet, as Captain Ryan, as a werewolf, appears and begins to attack Cooper. Cooper manages to kill him and returns to civilization with proof of the werewolves and the government conspiracy. Unfortunately, his story is buried beneath the results of the England v. Germany game the night before. The end.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and talk. So, Nico, how's this one look?
It's not the most refreshing looking film I've seen in recent memory, I'm sorry to say. I had big expectations for this because someone really close to me has been hyping up this movie for a long time, and I was walking and expecting this sort of new divine film that embraces me and relishes me and makes my life better, and it just kind of looks like a bunch of dudes in a forest.
So, Dan, any thoughts on this?
So, I wasn't a big fan of the visuals. There was a lot of shaky cam, Jason Bourne shaky cam going on, which for me made it difficult to know who was who. And like there would be times where a character would get injured and then I wouldn't actually realize what character it was until they were like
Yes.
dead or being like patched
Yes,
up. And I'm like, oh,
right?
wait, that guy got injured? I thought it was the other person.
The character designs were not very distinct between the cast, except for the ones who were like, oh, this is Megan, who is the only woman here. But like, I couldn't fucking tell who people were in
Yeah.
half the time during the scenes with the shaky cam. I'm not going to fucking lie.
Yeah. I wasn't really the biggest fan of what the werewolves looked like. I guess they looked okay. Like there wasn't anything like wrong with them.
They
But
look better than some other werewolf movies
that's
we've
true.
seen.
That's for sure. But the shaky cam kind of made it harder to see them. Now, as we get closer to the end of the movie, then you do start to see them non-shakily. And I mean, they were okay, but I kind of would have liked them a little bit more mobile. I don't know.
So I kind of have a little bit of a contrasting opinion here. So
Oh, okay.
I like the way the movie looks. I think a lot of it is kind of a little bit shrouded, kind of a little bit, they don't really show everything immediately. And I kind of like that. There's a decent chunk of shaky cam, I'd say, where like a lot is happening and it's cutting all over the place. It's rather chaotic. And I did like that. I thought that was kind of there to impart the chaos that the squad themselves were going through and feeling in that
Certainly.
moment. So that was kind of why I did that, or why I like that. I didn't make the shaky cam. Wasn't me back in 02.
That's why you did that?
You shook the cam.
But nah, I dug it. I particularly liked a lot of the kind of random gore or like things that would happen. So there's a part where the sergeant gets his guts ripped out. Like literally his guts are there.
Yeah.
And they're like, trying to like stuff his guts back in, and they super glue his guts closed, which I thought was pretty funny. But like that, I dug that. Also, there's like a part where like a werewolf's fucking about too much and they chop off its hand. I like the way that it looked. Now, let's go ahead to the Sonic side of things. Nico, gotta go fast, but at the same time, tell me how this sounded.
So the atmosphere was good enough in the movie. I will say I didn't have any issues with how it sounded. And for as much as the cinematography and just a bunch of the way that a couple of the shots were framed make the werewolves look kind of maybe a little bit goofy, they definitely sounded really menacing, particularly when they weren't on screen.
Dan, how about you?
This is going to be a really weird, sort of like nerdy technical thing. But I noticed that the stereo imaging, the left to right, was like really wide on it. There would be times where like somebody would shoot a shotgun shell or something, and the shell falling out, the little tink 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 as the shell like hits the ground, would be like way far off to the right, even though the gun was shot in the center. And just some things like that, like not really bad or anything, but it just really caught my ear, I guess. And there'd be times where you'd really hear things way off to the left or way off to the right, when normally I feel like they wouldn't be quite that far off centered. But again, I know that's like a really nerdy thing. But other than that, I mean, I thought the sound was, like Nico said, was pretty good.
So everyone adjust your sound setup appropriately. Nothing. But no, that's true. I think for me, my favorite part about it, I didn't necessarily find anything super memorable in terms of like, any kind of backing score or anything like that. But for me, the dialogue was top notch. I love the dialogue in this one. There's just so much back and forth. And it can go literally from like deep a little bit where, the squad's all around a campfire and they're like, like, what are you afraid of the most? And then like, I think it's the sergeant who's like, I'm afraid of the self-destructive behavior of humanity. And in like literally within 5 minutes of that, they go from that to like, if Little Red Riding Hood comes around the corner, I expect you to chin the bitch. And I was like, yo, what? Or like they show up at the house. Is everyone okay? No, sir. I think I've shit myself. I was just like, I couldn't stop laughing at that shit. So I did quite enjoy the banter in this one. Now, moving on. We got to start, as we often do here on the podcast, at the end. So everyone dies, basically, except for Spoon and his loyal dog companion. And I wonder something. Did you think that when you watch this, that they were setting this up for a sequel? or did you think this was a one and done?
I kind of thought it was a one and done, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Nico?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I guess the ending does leave it like open for the possibility, and I do know that it was planned to be a trilogy,
Right.
but I thought it would have been just as effective, and is, because this is how it is, but effective just as a standalone.
Yeah, I largely agree with you there. I was reading online, and again, you can't trust everything you read online, so I don't know how true this is, but apparently there's a scene where Megan cuts her hand on like a pane of glass, and that was supposedly going to be like a plot point for a future movie because her DNA is on the glass shard. So that's going to be like one way they acquire something or something like that. I don't really know. Now, do you think, given the movie, would you be into a sequel? Let's say maybe they get their shit together. Although I doubt it because it's been like 18 years, but
There's been longer gaps between sequels. It could happen.
I'm saying, but would you be down for one though?
I mean, yeah, I would actually really be down for something that was better made like this. I feel like if this had the visuals of a better movie, this could be something that was looked back on, maybe potentially almost as much as like Predator and shit. But it just really, the visuals were what killed it for me personally.
Mm-hmm. I see. Dan, your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think I'd be down for a sequel. I kind of feel like this movie's a little rough around the edges, but I think if
Right.
it kind of
Ruff.
I think if it kind of like focused itself a little bit more, I think a sequel could be kind of fun.
Agreed. I definitely think a sequel could be a lot of fun, and it's no surprise here. I like this movie a lot, so I definitely think that I'd be down
Was
for a
it
sequel.
you? Was it you who recommended this movie? I thought it was someone else. Okay.
I thought it was Bonner.
Yeah.
No, it was my alter ego, Busted.
Bustin'. He reappears.
He's a wild boy.
Back again.
Yep.
So, question about the werewolves that we actually see in this particular movie. How do you feel these werewolves kind of correspond to the lore? And how do you like them generally speaking, the way they move, the way they act? Because the movie's called Dog Soldiers, right? And they're soldiers, but I believe the werewolves are the dog soldiers.
I didn't catch that.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh, no. We got there, folks.
Gotta look deep for that. So, how do you feel?
When I was watching this movie, these werewolves, you could have told me they were just like some weird, like fucked up experiments or something. They just kind of look like big hairy dudes with long snouts. But I will also say that I just wasn't really vibing with a lot of, or not, I wasn't vibing, but I wasn't like identifying a lot of Werewolf War as I was watching this. This seemed to be more of a story about, how this ragtag group of heroes just like interact with each other over the course of the night, almost as like a character piece more than action. IMO. I don't know.
I mean, that's an interesting way to look at it because I definitely do dig a lot of the character relationships, particularly between the Sergeant, Spoon, Cooper, and, everybody else. I definitely look at that.
Right.
Dan, how about you?
Real quick, I do agree with you on that, Nico. I think this movie had kind of like a war movie kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Obviously, given the fact that they are soldiers. But even then, like the camaraderie and the banter and stuff and character development between them, I feel like is a little bit more war movie style.
Yeah.
And the werewolves just happen to be the bad guys of this,
Yeah.
But I actually kind of liked it. We have the classic werewolves are hurt by silver, come out on a full moon. I would definitely like to say that they can see in the dark as well, unlike certain characteristics of another movie we watched recently. This definitely held more true than a certain movie. But yeah, I mean, I'd say in general, they held up to werewolf lore.
So, and one thing I definitely want to do as well is I want to add that this movie, it did kind of for me at least, it was interesting because when you talk about werewolves, right, it's very important to note that they're not like, if anyone's seen Blood and Chocolate, which I don't know if I could ever convince you guys to watch for this podcast, but holy shit, like they turn into wolves, like fanciful wolves, as opposed to like whatever the fuck these guys turn into
Boy,
here.
he's a fanciful wolf.
I'll send you guys pictures later, but basically, like, I like the werewolves because I think a lot of times they're kind of like in the shadows and you can tell they're moving around like a squad. There's some squad shit. And when they do show up, I don't know what it is, but it's like their hands. Like, I don't like I'm doing like a hand motion here. And I don't know what it is, but like the werewolf's hands freak me out the most. But Nico is right. They do look like dudes with long snouts and whatnot, which makes sense because they are, you know, like lycanthropic.
Yeah.
So I dig it. And the silver thing, actually, funny enough, it's kind of like mentioned, but it's literally only by like what's the trope called? Chekhov's gun, maybe. But there's literally like one of those at the very start. Like there's a random scene we get with an author and his wife just fucking out in the woods. Or maybe I'm not going to imply anything on their relationship. I don't want to put a label on it. But this dude and this chick are fucking out in the woods and she gives him a silver pen. That's like a sword.
If you know what I mean.
Right before he gives her the sword, not playing. But basically, long story short, she gives him a silver thing. Cooper finds it in the basement and uses it to kill the werewolf that's already got a sword through his gut. And I don't know, like that silver thing is not really brought up a ton. Like they're just like, oh, I guess they might be weak to silver. We don't really have any, but
fuck it, let's try.
I guess they might be. So there's that. There was no like Wolfsbane in this movie, which I wouldn't expect them to go outside and collect some flowers. And it takes place over the course of one night. Now, they do note that they're like, every full moon we kill like a couple people. And I'm just like, seems like this would attract some more attention.
Yeah.
I get these soldiers were on kind of like a little secret mission or whatever like that. But surely if you're over here killing like hikers every 30 days, someone's about to be like, yo, bro, what the fuck is going on in these woods? And like try and investigate further. I don't know. But then again, maybe the government did. They found the werewolves and that's why they want them now. And that's what I wanted to ask you real quick. How'd y'all feel about that side piece where, you know, the captain is like, hey, I'm part of this squad who's been sent here to capture werewolves. Haha, the government is not your friend. What were your thoughts on that, Dan? How'd you feel about that?
I thought it was kind of weird. Like I mean, I guess there had to be some sort of reason or story or something, but it was just kind of a throwaway plot point, I would say, that actually kind of led to more confusion on my end. But I'll talk about that later.
I kind of feel like if the plot was that they only expected there to be one werewolf, and supposedly they were going to use Cooper's squadron as bait to lure the werewolf, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it have made more sense to use like somebody pretending to be a hiker or something like that, given that that's who the werewolves have been preying on the whole time thus far?
Or you could like leave out some Scooby snacks.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I just feel like the werewolves would not really be apt to attack a military unit. In fact, the only reason they do is just because they discovered them. But if they hadn't discovered them, I don't know if the werewolves would have ever attacked them.
Well, that does kind of get to the crux of my confusion and stuff. There's, to me, it's just plot points that don't really make sense. And because what's her name, Megan, is a werewolf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the military was talking to her previously.
Yeah.
So the only way that they would know that werewolves are there is if she told them or showed them evidence. And there's even a little line where she's talking to the squad and she's like, yeah, that's about the time that I ran into you guys, or that you ran into me. And then Captain Ryan, one of the SAS guys who kind of knows what's going on, is like, no, you ran into us or whatever. Basically like kind of implying that like, hey, we knew that you were involved somehow, you were a werewolf or something. I don't know, like hinting at that a little bit. But like, I just don't understand. There's a lot of secretive stuff in this movie. And I feel like a lot of it could have been solved by just people going, what the fuck do you know about what's going on here? And then they would have like figured shit out a lot quicker.
That is true. I also want to touch real quick on just maybe a couple themes from this movie. And the one that I really got to shout out here is werewolves often play the role of the kind of unwilling murderer. Because, transforming is not something that werewolves can control in a lot of different stories. And it's not really something that they can say, oh, I'm going to totally do it now. Like sometimes, yes, but most of the time, no. And even Megan was like, I don't want this. Like I came out here to be closer to nature and I guess I fucking got what I wanted because now I'm a goddamn werewolf. And I don't know, like that to me was the big one. Also, maybe a little bit of England's obsession and Britain by a larger extension, obsession with, football, soccer. But anything else you guys can point out? I don't think this movie was really one for deep talking points per se, but I could be wrong.
I don't know of any like themes, but this movie does make a lot of other references to other movies and franchises. I think there's a line after Spoon gets killed and like Cooper and Sargent like see his remains. Cooper's like, "Where's Spoon?" And then Sarge goes, "There is no spoon."
In the cutlery drawer.
But I'm pretty sure that's a Matrix reference. Sergeant Wells, I was reading though they never say in the movie, apparently his first name is Harry, and is H.G. Wells. And there's just like a ton of references. The piano song piece that Megan plays is Claire de Lune, which, Moon, werewolves, but also I didn't make this connection. I was reading it, can't take credit myself, but in A Werewolf in London, I think all of the music in that, the titles have the word moon in it, which Claire de Lune does as well. So like kind of throw back to that too.
Cool.
So there's a lot of different references to different movies and literature and things.
Nico, how's about you, sir?
I mean, yeah, Dan took what I was going to say. This isn't a particularly thematic movie unless you count betrayal as a theme, I guess. Because, I mean, like, there's a pretty big amount of that here, but...
That's true. I think camaraderie and kind of like just like brotherhood is for sure another one because, it's kind of like the classic story of like a real brother in arms kind of situation. So I definitely think that as well, for sure. Now, Dan, it's my understanding that the lore master, Dan, is coming at it once again. You got some trivia for me?
Yeah, this movie actually had quite a bit of trivia that I was not really expecting. But this movie has a link to one of our other favorite movies, Event Horizon. One, the actor who plays Sarge is also in Event Horizon.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah. In the end of the movie, when Cooper is in the basement and he sees like the other corpses that are in there, those corpses were originally created and used in Event Horizon.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. They got a 2-for-1 type deal.
Yeah, right? There's a scene earlier on after Sarge gets his guts ripped out and they're stuffing his guts back inside of him.
Oh,
he gets drunk and then Cooper knocks him out. So in that scene, the actor who plays Cooper, Kevin McKidd, throws a stage punch the first time, but then the second punch, he misjudged the distance and actually did punch Sean Pertwee on the nose. But apparently Sean Pertwee didn't really feel the punch because he was actually drunk for that scene. He asked the director if he could have a few drinks, and the director was like, "Oh, I don't know how much a few was, but he was definitely played that scene pretty well." So he was drunk for that. And then lastly, the dog, Sam, the dog's real name was Vilric Acer. No, Vilrix Acer, which I don't know if that's a reference.
This dog is a whole ass Soul Calibur character. Vilrix Acer.
According to Neil Marshall, the director, he was a very lovely but kind of the worst trained movie dog.
Oh, he is a good boy.
That dog was there for one thing in that whole movie. He was there to fight the werewolf at the end. That's it. That's the only reason this dog was there. He was just there to watch people and kill the one or fight the one werewolf at the end. All right. Any last bits of lore, Dan, or is that it's the dump for the day?
There's a ton. I just can't read all of it,
True enough. The only other thing I want to bring up is This movie's it's kind of a cult classic. A lot of people have a lot of love for this movie. It's kind of garnered a little bit of a following over the years. Why do you think that is? Why do people have kind of this fondness for this movie, despite the shortcomings that it might have?
See, I was hoping you could tell me that.
Big oof.
I think partly the banter. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any other reason.
Sorry, bro.
Just looking at it, I think that one of the reasons is this is a totally unique film in the werewolf sphere. There's never been another movie like this.
Really?
Yeah. There's never been another movie like this in terms of werewolf movies. Very often we see, like, yes, we've gotten packs of werewolves before. Like, you've obviously got The Howling and we've got things like that. But just the frenetic pace of the movie, I mean, just the action on action on action on action, I think. And the fact that it's something that is pretty easily consumable. It's not something that you really got to sit there and like bust open your thesis to really understand. It's just guts, blood, werewolves, death, keep it moving. I think that's a big contributing factor. And I also think that, for example, when you look at the werewolves in this, I think they may not have had enough screen time, and that's largely probably due to the budget of this movie. I think that when we look at another movie with werewolves that came out around about the same time, Underworld, I like the werewolves in this one more. At least to me, they look like a little more sinister. They look a little more, even though they are draped in a lot of darkness and we don't really get to see like a lot of really up close things. I like these werewolves a little bit more. And I think that generally the special effects, I think particularly with the werewolf design, was something that would kind of have reverberations down the line. I know that in another movie we reviewed, Howl, that movie took a lot of cues from this one with the werewolf design and just generally how things went. And also, Sean Pertwee is actually in that movie as well.
Oh, no shit.
Oh.
Huh.
Yeah. But now it's time for the what would you do? So I thought about this, and really it boils down to this. The three of us are in that special, not special, but we're in that squad, and we're at the farmhouse. So we've got our injured sergeant, we got a man down. What would you be doing at that point in time? Would you follow the plan, just kind of like hold down and try and, like last it out? What would your defensive plan be, basically?
I mean, I sure as shit wouldn't go out running in a forest where there was fucking werewolves.
Yeah.
They would 100% fuck me up. I'm sitting my ass down in that farm.
I would Home Alone that shit. Just make up a whole bunch of traps.
Home Alone
I was
this
going to
bitch.
ask. So we do see the characters use a little bit of ingenuity. Cooper tells them to put some, boiling hot water on the stove.
That was dumb. I'm sorry, that
sorry,
was
Dan.
dumb.
I'm
That
sorry,
was
Dan. That's
dumb.
ingenuity, Dan.
No. Okay. There's a werewolf attacking the door, right? Trying to get in the
Right.
door. And there's this little like 6-inch by 6-inch square in this door, hole in this door. And they take a pot of boiling water and toss it in there.
And then they just like boop them.
Yeah. And I'm sure that hurts like fuck. But you know what else they have? Guns. Shotguns and submachine guns. And I'm pretty sure those hurt more.
So
Just saying.
I don't know, because the werewolves like eat them gunshots.
Yeah. Also, apparently eats that water too. Slurps that shit right up.
Oh,
I would rather shoot a werewolf than moisturize it.
there's only like 4 or 5 werewolves, though. I think the pain can get them to temporarily withdraw a little bit. But
Spoon goes around boxing this motherfucker too. You can't tell me that boxing a werewolf is a better idea than shooting a werewolf.
well, they also had very limited ammo. They were mad low on ammo at that point in time.
I mean, not with the boiling water, bro. That was at the beginning.
So, you know what I will say? Now, this might just be me. I would have used a lot more melee weapons. So check it out. So these guys unearth like fucking Excalibur, right? From this random like chest in the house. Now, Cooper picks up the sword. He's like, no, fuck that. And puts the sword back down. Because I think you got Spoon, who's with the sword, And then Cooper's like, what the fuck are you doing? And then he makes him put it back down and pick up a gun. The only
he
2
should.
times the sword's been used in the film, it was super effective against the werewolves.
Yeah.
Like, it
Yeah.
chopped off one of their hands, and then it like went straight through the captain when he was a werewolf. And the only reason it didn't do more is because the captain ran away with the sword in his guts. But I would have honestly tried using the sword more. Like, think about it.
They were close quarters too.
Yeah, like, if you're low on ammo, use the sword, my
I
guy.
don't gotta reload a sword.
Gotta use a frying pan instead. Gotta
Yo,
use a camera to take flashes in their eyes.
listen, I'm going to flash the camera in your eyes, okay? And we'll see if that doesn't temporarily disorient you.
I'm pretty sure a sword would more temporarily disorient me.
Well, they should have combined it. They should have done camera flash,
What kind of
sword,
fucking-
sword. Wait, what was the game where you
What kind
could
of
do
Left
like
4 Dead shit is this?
No, World of Horror. No, remember World of Horror? Where you
Oh
could
yeah. We like do
Mhm.
the spirit damage or whatever.
like you could like clap bow, clap, clap. And fuck up the werewolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Anyhow, all that to say, I feel like they could have used more melee weapons. Dan would have used more guns. And Nico, what would
Yep.
you have used more of?
I would have probably tried just hiding.
Use a
Fair
bitch, you'll
enough.
die.
I don't know. That was pretty effective. You can get an entire house exploded on top of you and be fine if you do that, apparently.
Yeah, right.
If you're in the basement, right, and the house explodes from a certain angle, depending on like the angle of the explosion and what it was like, the materials, you might be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, he was hella lucky.
So, one thing I did want to ask as well, Megan, did you suspect she might be a werewolf at any point?
Not really.
Actually, not really either, no.
I did.
Oh,
Oh,
Even when I first seen the movie, I was like,
Oh,
I
yeah?
know you're a werewolf.
yeah.
oh, you knew?
What are you doing out here?
I mean, that is true, yeah.
There's no one out here for kilometers, and there's fucking werewolves everywhere, and you expect me to believe you're just chilling. You're good, right?
I didn't expect her to be a werewolf, but I also didn't believe her story.
Oh, about werewolves?
Oh, no, her story of like, oh, I'm a zoologist and I'm just like
Oh.
chilling here. Like
yeah,
that I didn't
maybe she could
believe.
be like a government agent or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But now I want to take it to the critical review. Where do you guys think this rates on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm gonna say a solid like 60.
Mm-hmm. Dan, where are you at with it?
I'm going to get close to that, 55.
So this is sitting at a 79% from
Oh,
both
wow.
audience and the
Wow.
critics. Both gave it a
Okay.
79%.
Wow.
So why don't you go ahead and give me just a very brief kind of overall view of your thoughts, and then lace me with your score. Who wants to lead in this wild, open, wonderful universe?
I'll go first because I feel like I'm definitely gonna be the lowest. And
Okay.
we can go up from here. This is a movie that even after talking about it, I struggle to tell you the play-by-play of what happened and differentiate between the characters. It's something that had frenetic cinematography that made the pacing at times lightning speed and at times just kind of disjointed, and it was really hard for me to get any kind of buy-in to this. I'm giving this a 34.
Whoa!
Wow.
This movie's not very good.
You
I'm
have
sorry.
temporarily disabled Justin. Disoriented.
Yo! Yo!
The return of the yo.
I don't mean to
Yo.
pull a Vampire Hunter D here, but I want to remind you, it's been some real pack of shit you have given. Oh, give
Bro,
it a, give
Ghost
it a 60.
Stories is more entertaining than this. I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah,
Ghost Stories?
Ghost
It was
Stories.
all a
bro.
dream? A dream within a dream? I'm
Yeah,
talking to my dead wife who don't exist?
Spoilers
It was a doll?
for 2 movies in this episode.
What?
hey man.
Yo,
I would say I'm sorry, but I'm not.
I'm going to mark this down on my desk.
Fucking do it, you won't, coward.
All right, man. All right, man. All right. 35. Okay.
No.
34.
34.
34?
34.
Okay, so 35. Dan, what were you?
Okay, apparently 35 now. Okay. All right, we round up.
So what is it? What is it, Dan, from you?
I thought this movie, sometimes the plot didn't make sense. Like I said, when I kind of thought about like what was actually happening, like the actual story, I was like, this doesn't make sense. And I feel like Megan was just going against her own interests because she was like, oh, I don't want to be a werewolf, but you guys are out of luck and I'm out of time. And it's like, but you're out of time, but you're the one who was like, oh, we should just wait till dawn. Just wait. Don't do anything. But now you're running out of time. I don't get it. There's just a lot of things that I personally don't think make sense. And kind of like Nico said, I thought it was difficult to tell who was who sometimes. The camera angles, I get the shaky cam and I enjoy it sometimes, but I thought it was a little too much. And it didn't really grip me. Like there were a couple times throughout the movie where I was just kind of like, I kind of feel like doing something else now. It didn't just like pull me in. I didn't dislike it nearly as much as Nico did though. I'm going to give this one a 60.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say 35.
Okay. I'll take the 60. All right, look. Let me tell everyone this one time. I like this movie. Okay? I like this movie. To me, it's coming from me here, personally. This is one of the best werewolf movie since the year 2000. I'm struggling. Okay? I'm struggling to think of a better movie. Listen, for all the
Van
reasons.
Helsing.
Howl.
Howl is up there. Howl is certainly one of them. Van Helsing is not better than this movie, bro. That
Shut
movie
the
have
fuck up.
real
Yes, it
problems. That movie have, we got to review Van Helsing. We got to review Van Helsing.
Yeah.
Okay then. I'm going to chamber up my rifle and we'll find out. But listen, back to the point at
chamber up
hand
my
here.
automatic crossbow. Let's go, bro.
All right, bro. We'll see which one move across the leagues the fastest. But look, what I'm going to say is this. I think this movie has a lasting legacy on werewolf films. I think it's a big bit of inspiration for a lot of fans of the werewolf genre. I think it's something that is, again, I like the frenetic pace of it. I like a lot. Now, granted, of course, the plot could be a little bit more airtight, and there are one or two things that perhaps don't quite align. That being said, I love this movie a lot, and I would be remiss if I didn't also mention my favorite scene, which is Spoon is like hammering like a door shut, and then a werewolf like sticks his hand in, and then he starts hammering the werewolf's hand right fast.
That was pretty funny.
And that shit had me fucking cracking up, bro. So I probably do have a little bit of nostalgia goggles for it as well. I saw this movie when I was a little kid, you know, back in 2002. Not a little kid, but I was a kid.
Yeah, you were a kid.
And I saw this movie back in 2002, like when it dropped. And I remember just like being completely taken away from it, with it, by it. It gripped me in a lot of different ways. And I definitely like it. So I'm going to give it an 82. I like this movie quite a bit.
Wow.
So that being, actually, no, I'm sorry, 85. What am I saying to myself?
85. You round up.
I round it up. That's how we do it here, bro. So, you know what? Just rip the Band-Aid off. You don't recommend it, do you, Nico?
Fuck no.
Okay, then.
Go fucking watch Howl. It's better in every single way.
Listen, man.
You're looking
Pick up
real
yourself.
hurt right now. You're looking real hurt right now.
No, because you want to know why? You would not have your PlayStation, right? You don't get PlayStation 4 without PlayStation 3, right? You must go from 3 to 4, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're right.
So you have to go from Dog Soldiers to Howl.
If you're asking me, would I rather have like $300 or $400, I'll say $400 every time.
But you can't have $400 without first having $300 in your hand.
No, that's,
You see what I'm saying?
no.
No.
Like when I'm giving you money, right? When I'm
Yeah.
counting out money for you.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
if you're not counting? What if you just hand me a wad of hundreds?
yeah.
That's $400.
Instant
Someone had to count
transmission.
that. Someone had to
Somebody,
count that.
Not me.
Well, you think there's some little fucking gnome in Venmo going through every single transaction? Ha ha! $13.69 for pizza. Tee.
I'm saying if I stand tall, it is because I am on the shoulders of giants.
This movie's a giant piece of shit.
I will fuck you up.
Wow.
And on that note, we're gonna ask the audience your thoughts. So this one is not gonna get a recommendation from the squad today, but you can always let us know your thoughts. You can find us on Facebook. That's Don't Open That Door. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. That's DOTD Horror. You can also check out this and every episode we've ever done on our website. That's dotdhorror.com. So please feel free, drop us a line. Let us know how much of a piece of fucking shit Nico is. Let Nico know that, he deserves a lot to happen to him in life for his opinion on a movie. And
It's true.
also,
It's true.
just tell him he can't draw for shit. Just go ahead. Just do it. Everyone tell Nico he can't draw for shit. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it's true. I can't. I tried to
Damn.
draw Jamie Lannister look like David Duchovny. Happens.
See?
Damn.
See?
You
I
shit.
tried to draw a werewolf. It turned to a werepussy, bro.
Wow, you were wrong.
Wow.
Werecat?
You were
Is that
way
what-
off.
Wow.
Werecat? Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
Didn't Fred just like straight up murder a guy in that movie?
Fred was a cuck in that movie, bro.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
that's
kinda
true.
was. Fred was kind of a little bitch boy in that movie.
Or no, remember? Fucking Bo.
Bo!
That's right.
I'm a detective. I've always been into detective stories. So on that note, take care of one another, everyone. Watch Dog Soldier or don't. It's a don't from us here on the podcast, but maybe you're feeling special. I don't know. And as always, dear listener,
Go
don't
fuck
open that
yourself.
door.
Bye.
What the fuck? No. Take care of each other. And as always, dear listener, don't open that door and don't listen to Nico. Bye. I'm weak, but yes, that was the ending.
That was the best ending we've ever had.